Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we're wanting to expand, well, perhaps a little more quickly than the universe will allow. And so we find ourselves in a position where we feel stuck or as if things are not really working out our way. And we think that it must have something to do, well, perhaps with the approach that we're taking. And sometimes it does, equally, sometimes it doesn't. But it never hurts at those particular moments to stop and take a look and reassess the situation. And that's precisely the particular moment that you find yourself in. You're not sure what to believe about the situation that you're confronting in one area of your life or another. You're not sure if you're being stubborn or stupid, if you're perhaps being a little bit too passionate in your approach. People are accusing you of being a little too authoritative in terms of how best to approach a situation that you're involved in with a group of others. And you don't know if you should listen to that or if you should just go, what do they know? I just need to assert myself and push through this particular situation because something has to happen, something has to change. And well, if nobody's going to support me in taking that particular action, well, I'm going to be certain that I'm going to make sure that things change because ultimately things do need to change. And you're right. Things do really need to change, but perhaps it wouldn't hurt to take a look at why things are not changing as rapidly as you might like for them to. Perhaps it might be a good idea to stop and reassess and see if a particular shift in strategy might somehow be appropriate to help you to come up with a better plan. And if you could use a little bit of help coming up with a better plan for yourself, I should mention that I do offer several different levels of astrological services. These are available through my astrological services page, which you will find linked above. So what should you do? Should you listen to what other people are saying? Well, it never really hurts. After all, it's their needs as well as your own that you're trying to take care of. Is it really right for you to assume that you best know what will take care of their needs? And even if you do know what might best take care of their needs, is it right for you to decide that for them? Right? So perhaps a little bit of a little bit of lending an ear to what it is that they have to say might go a long way. Perhaps showing a little bit of compassion and empathy rather than feeling like you have to assert yourself, even though on a certain level you do have to assert yourself. But who are you fighting this battle for, right? Who are you fighting this battle for? Sometimes an ounce of restraint goes a long way towards developing a greater level of strategy. And you could really use to be able to develop a better strategy for this situation because you're coming up against resistance. Does that mean you're not going to achieve your goal? Well, no, it doesn't. It just means that you may not achieve your goal as quickly as you might like to achieve your goal. Right? And you may find yourself, perhaps another month or so down the line, having to figure out which path is the best path to go. And that's following on the tail end of this particular confusion. Let's analyze a little more clearly what's going on. An interesting thing to understand is the concept of kingdoms when it deals with astrology. Nakshatras have kingdoms as well as planets. And there's the Jiva kingdom, which is the animal kingdom. And the Jiva kingdom is very big on needing to learn when to lead and when to be more submissive. And then there's the Dhatu kingdom, or the mineral kingdom. The big lesson for the Dhatu, or the mineral kingdom, is, in learning that, if you're not feeling supported in your actions, perhaps you're being asked to learn how to be strong enough within yourself to say no when you need to say no, but equally how to focus more on being a support to others by being strong within yourself, right? And then we have the plant kingdom. The plant kingdom, well, sometimes they need to learn how to be a little more adaptable, and sometimes they need to learn how not to be a doormat and let everybody walk all over them. So here's what you've got going on, right? You've got the fact that Mars, which is a Dhatu planet, and Ketu, which is a Jiva planet, are in a Mula Nakshatra. So how best can you create nourishment? Because the Mula kingdom is, did I say Mula Nakshatra? I said they're in a Mula Nakshatra. I don't want you to confuse that with the Nakshatra of Mula. I'm talking about in a Mula or plant Nakshatra, right? So they're needing to learn how best to bring, well, nourishment to a situation, because that's another quality of the plant kingdom, is about nourishment, adapting in order to find nourishment. Mars is very strong at the time of this particular transit, so it has the strength to be a support to others, right? But through its interaction with Ketu, it's needing to learn how to hold back a little bit, right? Ketu is part of the army of the planets. Ketu and Rahu form the army of the planets. Mars is, of course, the general. So when Ketu and Mars come into connection with each other, a lot of times it can be about the concept of needing to pause in order to develop a strategy, dependent upon the strength or the lack of strength of Mars. Sometimes it can be a thing that the person's pausing too much and reflecting too much and holding themselves back. In this particular instance, it's much more of a concept of going, hey, you need to restrain yourself in order to develop a greater level of strategy. Now, Jupiter and Saturn, which are conjuncting each other in Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra. Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra is, of course, a Jiva Nakshatra, and Jupiter is a Jiva planet, whereas Saturn is a Dhatu planet. So Jupiter as a Jiva planet is wanting to, well, perhaps be a little more assertive with the situation, but it's not seeing the situation clearly. And it's good that Saturn is there to offer a little bit of restraint and to kind of slow the situation down a little bit, because that allows structured growth to take place. So even though things may not be moving forward at precisely the pace that you might like for them to, it's probably better in this particular situation that things are moving at a slow pace, because it gives you the time to develop a wise strategy and to take your time building something that's going to have a greater level of endurance in the long run, right? And as I mentioned, if you could use a little bit of help in developing that particular strategy, I do offer several different levels of astrological service. All of these are available through my astrological services page, which again, you will find linked above. That's going to do it for this look at Jupiter's conjunction with Saturn as they transit through Uttara Ashadha Nakshatra, which takes place from the 9th to the 27th of February 2020. Please do take the very best care of yourself. Bye now.